Watching this, your body is performing a biological miracle that you are completely unaware of. Within the complex architecture of your tissues, a silent, microscopic war is being waged every single second. This isn't just medical theory, it is a fundamental reality of human biology. Scientific autopsies have repeatedly proven that nearly 40% of women in their 40s have microscopic clusters of breast cancer, 50% of men in their 50s have microscopic prostate cancer, and a staggering 70% of individuals in their 70s harbor microscopic thyroid cancer. Yet, the vast majority of these people will never know these clusters existed, and they will never develop clinical, life-threatening cancer. Why? Because your body possesses an extraordinary internal defense system designed to identify and dismantle these threats long before they can do harm. The most critical of these defenses is a process called angiogenesis, the way your body grows and maintains its vast network of blood vessels. Think of your blood vessels as a 60,000-mile highway system, delivering oxygen and life-sustaining nutrients to every single cell. In a healthy state, your body keeps these vessels in perfect balance. However, microscopic cancers are master manipulators. They are like tiny, hungry hitchhikers that try to hijack your highway system. On its own, a microscopic cancer cell cannot grow larger than 2 millimeters, roughly the size of a ballpoint pen tip. At that size, it is completely harmless, a dormant speck of dust. But the moment that cluster of cells successfully sends out a chemical SOS signal to trick your body into growing new blood vessels toward it, everything changes. Once a tumor gains its own dedicated blood supply, it can grow up to 16,000 times its size in a matter of weeks. This is the tipping point where a silent resident becomes a deadly invader. My mission today, as Dr. Mike, is to teach you how to maintain what we call angiogenic balance. We aren't just talking about general healthy eating, we are talking about a specific, targeted biological intervention. We are going to explore how the chemical compounds found in specific whole foods act as high-tech scramblers that block these cancer signals, effectively starving these microscopic intruders of their fuel line. This is the front line of longevity and preventative medicine. Over the next 30 minutes, I am going to break down the 5 most powerful, research-validated foods that function as natural anti-angiogenic medicine. We will look at the exact human clinical trials, the specific molecular pathways like NRF2 and EGCG, and most importantly, the precise dosages used in the studies that actually move the needle. This is not about speculation or wellness trends. This is about hard science and practical life-saving protocols that you can implement in your kitchen today to ensure that the microscopic cancers already inside you stay microscopic, dormant, and harmless for the rest of your long, healthy life. To understand how we can practically starve a microscopic tumor, we must look at the most researched beverage in the history of cancer prevention, green tea. But I'm not talking about the casual cup you might have once a week. I'm talking about a specific molecular intervention. Within the leaves of the Camellia sinensis plant lies a powerhouse compound called epigallocatechin gallate, or EGCG. I have spent years analyzing how this specific catechin interacts with human cells, and the results are nothing short of extraordinary. EGCG is a multi-target bioactive. It doesn't just do one thing, it attacks the cancer's survival strategy from 3 different angles. First, it is a potent inhibitor of the very angiogenesis we just discussed. In laboratory settings, when we expose growing blood vessels to EGCG, it effectively blunts the chemical receptors that tumors use to call for more blood. It's like cutting the phone line so the tumor can't call for reinforcements. Second, EGCG directly stimulates your natural killer, or NK cells. Think of these as the elite special forces of your immune system. A landmark study conducted at Brigham Young University demonstrated that older adults who consumed the therapeutic dose of green tea saw a 47% increase in their NK cell activity. This means their immune system became nearly 50% more efficient at hunting down and eliminating those abnormal cells we talked about in the introduction. But here is where most people fail. The way you prepare your tea determines whether you are drinking medicine or just colored water. Most people use boiling water, which is a critical mistake. Water at 212 degrees is too aggressive. It actually thermal degrades the delicate EGCG molecules, destroying the very medicine you're trying to extract. Furthermore, drinking scalding hot liquids has been linked to an increased risk of esophageal cancer because it creates repeated thermal injury to your throat tissue. The clinical protocol is precise. You must heat your water to approximately 175 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, let boiling water sit for 3 to 4 minutes before pouring. You must steep the leaves for a full 5 minutes, and if you're using a tea bag, you need to physically dunk it repeatedly. This mechanical action releases significantly more catechins into the water. If you want to take this to the absolute next level, you use matcha. Because matcha is the ground-up whole leaf, 1 cup can deliver the antioxidant equivalent of 10 cups of regular steep tea. In a massive 10-year study in Japan involving over 8,000 participants, those who drank the equivalent of 5 cups of green tea daily, which is about 1 teaspoon of high-quality matcha, had a 40 to 50% lower rate of colon and stomach cancers. Why? Because as you sip this liquid gold, it coats your entire digestive tract, providing a protective barrier at the primary site of absorption. This is the first pillar of your 30-minute daily defense strategy. It's simple, it's affordable, and when done correctly, it's one of the most powerful tools in your longevity arsenal. Moving beyond the tea leaves, we encounter a family of vegetables that are often misunderstood and frequently overcooked, yet they contain perhaps the most potent naturally occurring anti-cancer molecule ever discovered, sulforaphane. I'm speaking about the cruciferous family: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, and cauliflower. But specifically, I want to talk about the sulforaphane engine. You see, sulforaphane doesn't actually exist inside a head of broccoli while it's sitting in your fridge. It is created through a fascinating defense mechanism of the plant itself. Within the plant cells, there is an enzyme called myrosinase and a precursor called glucoraphanin. When the plant is attacked, meaning when you chew it, chop it, or crush it, these two components combine to create sulforaphane. This molecule is a biological powerhouse that performs a function known as selective toxicity. In my clinical research, what makes sulforaphane so incredible is its ability to activate a genetic pathway in your body called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as your body's master thermostat for antioxidant production. Most people take vitamin C or E supplements, but those are one-and-done antioxidants. When sulforaphane activates NRF2, it forces your own cells to manufacture a massive wave of internal antioxidants that are far more durable and effective at neutralizing DNA damage that leads to cancer. But we must address the critical mistake most people make in the kitchen. If you boil your broccoli until it's mushy, you destroy the myrosinase enzyme and you get zero sulforaphane. To unlock this medicine, you should steam your broccoli for no more than 3 to 4 minutes, or better yet, use the chop and wait technique. Chop your broccoli and let it sit on the cutting board for 40 minutes before cooking. This gives the enzyme enough time to build the maximum dose of sulforaphane. And here is the next level secret: do not throw away the stalks. The tough, woody stalks of the broccoli plant contain nearly double the concentration of sulforaphane compared to the soft florets. Peel the outer layer, slice the inner stalk thinly, and sauté it. If you want a pharmaceutical-grade intervention, you must look at broccoli sprouts. These are 3-day-old germinated seeds, and scientific studies from Johns Hopkins University have confirmed they contain 100 times more sulforaphane by weight than the mature plant. In clinical trials, consuming just 2 ounces of these sprouts daily for 3 months resulted in a 60% reduction in cancer biomarkers in the blood. They literally upregulate over 200 genes responsible for cellular defense. By adding a handful of these sprouts to your sandwich or salad, you aren't just eating a vegetable, you are engaging in a targeted genetic override that tells your cells to hunt down microscopic tumors and dismantle them at the molecular level. This is the level of precision we need to ensure long-term survival and prevent the microscopic fires from ever becoming a wildfire. As we continue this 30-minute deep dive into biological defense, we must address a fruit that is often overlooked in Western medicine, but holds a miraculous secret for our respiratory health: the papaya. This vibrant, orange-fleshed tropical fruit contains a specific carotenoid called beta-cryptoxanthin. Now, why is this important for you? Because our clinical research shows that certain nutrients have a homing instinct. They prefer specific organs. Beta-cryptoxanthin has a profound affinity for lung tissue. In a massive long-term study conducted at Harvard, which followed over 70,000 women for nearly 2 decades, Those who had the highest intake of this compound found in papayas saw a 31% reduction in lung cancer risk. This protection was observed even in individuals who were former smokers. Imagine that, a simple fruit providing a molecular shield for the delicate air sacs in your lungs, reducing inflammation, and preventing the very angiogenesis that allows small lesions to take root. However, this is where we must address the elephant in the room, the fear of fruit sugar. Many people in the wellness community claim that sugar feeds cancer, and therefore you should avoid fruit. This is a dangerous and scientifically inaccurate oversimplification. While it is true that cancer cells are glucose hungry, so is your brain, your heart, and your immune system. The real enemy isn't the natural fructose found in a whole papaya. The enemy is the massive insulin spike caused by refined, processed sugars and liquid fruit juices. When you eat a whole papaya, you are consuming sugar that is packaged with fiber, water, and thousands of bioactive phytonutrients. The fiber slows down the absorption of sugar, meaning your insulin levels stay stable, while your body absorbs the anti-cancer medicine. In fact, people who consume the highest amounts of whole fruits consistently show lower rates of cancer compared to those who avoid them. But there is a specific way to consume papaya for maximum benefit. You want to choose fruit that is fully ripe, as the carotenoid concentration peaks when the skin is mostly yellow or orange. A 1-cup serving daily is the therapeutic dose used in many clinical observations. If you are concerned about blood sugar, my clinical tip is to eat your papaya earlier in the day when your insulin sensitivity is at its peak, or pair it with a few walnuts or almonds. The healthy fats in the nuts actually enhance the absorption of the fat-soluble carotenoids in the papaya, making it even more effective. By understanding that whole fruit is a protective ally, not a sugary enemy, you can leverage the power of the papaya paradox to keep your lungs clear and your internal defenses strong, even as you age beyond 60. This isn't just a snack, it's a targeted delivery system for lung-specific longevity. As we move deeper into this clinical protocol, we must discuss a food that looks like a novelty but is, in fact, a biological heavy hitter, the purple potato. Now, I'm not talking about regular white or russet potatoes, which are mostly starch. I am talking about the deep, vibrant purple varieties that are packed with a specific class of antioxidants called anthocyanins. These are the same compounds that give blueberries their power, but in purple potatoes, they are concentrated in a way that targets one of the most terrifying aspects of oncology, cancer stem cells. To understand why this is a game changer, you have to understand how cancer survives. When a patient undergoes traditional treatments like chemotherapy or radiation, the goal is to kill the bulk of the tumor. Usually, it works, the tumor shrinks, and the patient is told they are in remission. But all too often, the cancer returns years later, and it returns more aggressively. Why? Because of cancer stem cells. Think of a tumor like a dandelion in your yard. Chemotherapy mows the lawn. It removes the yellow flower. But if you don't pull out the root, the dandelion will grow back. Cancer stem cells are those roots. They are a tiny subpopulation of cells that are resistant to standard treatments and have the ability to regenerate an entire tumor from scratch. This is where the research from Pennsylvania State University becomes revolutionary. In their studies, researchers found that the anthocyanins in purple potatoes don't just slow down the growth of colon cancer by 65%. They specifically target and eliminate the cancer stem cells while leaving healthy cells completely untouched. This is what we call selective toxicity. But there is a vital preparation secret you must know to unlock the full longevity potential of this food: the cook and cool method. When you cook a purple potato and then let it cool completely in the refrigerator, the starch molecules undergo a process called retrogradation. They transform into resistant starch. This type of starch is not digested in your small intestine. Instead, it travels all the way to your colon, where it becomes a feast for your beneficial gut bacteria. These bacteria ferment the resistant starch and produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which is a powerful anti-inflammatory compound that repairs your gut lining and further protects against colon cancer. So, by eating a cooked and cooled purple potato, you are launching a dual-pronged attack. The anthocyanins are hunting down cancer stem cells, while the resistant starch is building an anti-inflammatory fortress in your gut. This is the definition of eating with intent. The clinical dose is simple. Integrate one medium purple potato into your meals several times a week. Whether you roast them with rosemary or turn them into a chilled potato salad, you are providing your body with a level of protection that regular potatoes simply cannot match. This is how we use ancient biology to solve modern health crises. As we move toward the final pillars of our anti-cancer protocol, we must discuss a fruit that has been revered as medicine for thousands of years, yet only now is modern science beginning to understand its true genius: the pomegranate. On the surface, pomegranates are famous for their antioxidants, but the real magic happens deep inside your digestive tract. Pomegranates contain a unique class of large molecules called L-argitannins. Now, your body cannot absorb these molecules directly. Instead, they travel down to your colon, where they are met by your gut microbiome, specifically, a very special species of bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. This is where the story gets fascinating. Akkermansia is the guardian of your gut lining. It lives in the mucus layer of your intestines and acts as a primary communication link between your digestive system and your immune system. When you consume the L-argitannins from pomegranate juice, these bacteria ferment them into smaller, highly active compounds called urolithins. These urolithins enter your bloodstream and perform two critical functions. They are powerfully anti-angiogenic, meaning they continue the work of starving microscopic tumors, and they stimulate your gut to produce more protective mucus, which in turn allows more Akkermansia to thrive. Why should you care about one specific type of bacteria? Because recent breakthrough studies in cancer immunotherapy have shown that patients who have high levels of Akkermansia in their gut respond significantly better to treatment. In fact, for many, it is the deciding factor in whether their immune system can successfully recognize and attack a tumor. By drinking pomegranate juice, you are essentially farming the very bacteria that tells your immune system to wake up and fight. In a landmark clinical trial at UCLA, men with rising PSA levels after prostate cancer treatment were given 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice daily. The results were staggering. The PSA doubling time, which measures how fast the cancer is growing, slowed down by nearly 400%. The cancer didn't disappear, but its growth was effectively put into slow motion, allowing these men to avoid more aggressive treatments for years. This is the power of precision nutrition. But you must be careful. Most pomegranate drinks in grocery stores are actually juice cocktails loaded with added corn syrup and apple juice, which will spike your insulin and negate the benefits. You must look for 100% pure, tart pomegranate juice. The clinical dose is 8 ounces a day. If the flavor is too intense, you can dilute it with sparkling water, but do not skip it. You are not just drinking a juice, you are feeding the microbial commanders that control your internal defense force. This synergy between the pomegranate's molecules and your gut's bacteria is one of the most elegant examples of how food functions as a sophisticated information system for your body's survival. Now that we have dismantled the science behind these 5 biological powerhouses, the most critical question remains: how do you integrate all of this into a single, sustainable 24-hour routine? Knowledge without application is just noise, and to transform your body into an environment where cancer cannot thrive, consistency is your greatest ally. Let's break down the Dr. Mike Daily Protocol. Your defense begins the moment you wake up. Instead of reaching for a second cup of coffee, your first intervention should be 2 cups of green tea or 1 teaspoon of high-quality matcha whisked into warm water. Remember the rule: 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 minutes steep. This floods your bloodstream with EGCG while your stomach is empty, ensuring maximum absorption and setting an anti-inflammatory tone for the rest of the day. By mid-morning, your digestive system is primed. This is the ideal window for your lung shield: 1 cup of fresh papaya. By consuming it now, you're providing a steady stream of beta-cryptoxanthin to your tissues before the metabolic stress of the day peaks. As we move to lunch, we focus on the genetic kill switch. This is where you incorporate your 1 cup of steamed broccoli, or, for a concentrated dose, 2 ounces of broccoli sprouts. If you're eating out, carry a small container of sprouts with you and add them to any meal. It is the single most effective way to upregulate those 200 cancer-fighting genes while you work. In the afternoon, around 3 p.m., we re-up our defenses with a final cup of green tea. This maintains the catechin levels in your blood, ensuring that the anti-angiogenic signal never drops. Dinner is the time for the stem cell attack. This is where your purple potatoes come in. Ideally, you've prepared these the night before, let them cool in the fridge to develop that resistant starch, and now you're reheating them gently. Pair them with a clean protein source like wild-caught fish or lentils to further stabilize your insulin response. Finally, 1 hour before bed, we perform the microbial shift. Drink your 8 ounces of 100% pure pomegranate juice. While you sleep, your body enters its primary repair phase, and those elagitannins will be working through the night, feeding your Akkermansia bacteria and prepping your immune system for the next day's patrol. This isn't a temporary cleanse or a 30-day challenge. This is a lifestyle architecture. I often tell my patients, you don't build a fortress while the enemy is at the gates. You build it brick by brick, every single day, when everything seems fine. The cumulative effect of these specific doses, the 3 cups of tea, the handful of sprouts, the purple starch, creates a biological force field that makes it incredibly difficult for microscopic cancers to ever gain a foothold. This is how you take control of your longevity, not through luck, but through the relentless application of precision nutrition. As we approach the final chapter of this deep dive, I want to speak directly to those of you who feel that perhaps it's too late. Maybe you are over the age of 60, maybe you have a strong family history of disease, or perhaps you have already received a diagnosis and are currently in the middle of the fight. There is a dangerous myth in medicine that once the fire has started, lifestyle changes no longer matter. I am here to tell you, based on 3 decades of clinical observation, that this couldn't be further from the truth. Your body is not a static machine. It is a dynamic, self-correcting organism that responds to new information until your very last breath. In fact, some of the most remarkable turnarounds I have seen have come from patients who adopted these anti-angiogenic protocols late in life. A major study involving over 50,000 men followed for 20 years demonstrated that those who consumed high amounts of these specific foods, the cruciferous vegetables, the catechins, the carotenoids, had a 50% lower cancer mortality rate, regardless of when they started. Why? Because even if a tumor is present, its survival depends on its environment. By flooding your system with sulforaphane and anthocyanins, you are changing the soil in which that cancer is trying to grow. You are making the environment hostile for the disease and supportive for your healthy cells. If you are currently undergoing conventional treatment like chemotherapy or immunotherapy, these foods are your secret allies. For instance, the Akkermansia bacteria we discussed, which is fueled by pomegranate, has been shown in clinical trials to significantly enhance the effectiveness of PD-1 checkpoint inhibitors, a cutting-edge cancer treatment. When your gut is healthy, your immune system is primed to assist the medication. However, a crucial word of advice: always coordinate with your oncology team. While these are whole foods, your doctors need to know your full nutritional profile to provide the best care. To those over 60, remember that your natural killer cell activity naturally tends to decline with age. This is known as immunosenescence. This is why the precision dosing of 3 cups of green tea and the daily serving of broccoli sprouts is even more critical for you than it is for a 20-year-old. You are manually boosting a system that is slowing down. You are providing the external software to keep your internal hardware running smoothly. Do not let fear paralyze you into thinking your fate is sealed by your genes or your age. Biology is not destiny. Biology is an ongoing conversation between your choices and your cells. By choosing these 5 foods, you are sending a clear, loud signal to your body that you are still in the fight, and you are giving your defense systems the high-octane fuel they need to keep those microscopic fires from ever taking control of your story. As we conclude this 30-minute journey into the science of cellular defense, I want you to take a deep breath and realize something profound. The most powerful pharmacy in the world isn't located in a hospital. It is located in your kitchen. We have spent this time deconstructing the molecular genius of green tea, the genetic power of broccoli, the organ-specific protection of papaya, the stem cell killing properties of purple potatoes, and the microbial communication of the pomegranate. But the true secret to longevity isn't just one of these foods. It is the synergy of all of them working together, day after day, year after year. We live in a world that often makes us feel helpless in the face of chronic disease, suggesting that our health is entirely dependent on our DNA or sheer luck. But the science of anti-angiogenesis and precision nutrition tells a different story. It tells us that we are the architects of our own internal environment. Every time you choose to sip matcha instead of a sugary soda, or every time you add a handful of broccoli sprouts to your plate, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are deciding that those microscopic cancers, which exist in all of us, will remain exactly what they are: harmless, dormant specks that never grow into a threat. This is the essence of proactive medicine. It is much easier to keep a fire from starting than it is to extinguish a forest fire. My goal as Dr. Mike is to empower you with this data, but the data only works if you do. I challenge you to start with just one of these protocols tomorrow morning. Don't try to be perfect on day one, just be consistent. Start with the tea, then add the sprouts, then find the purple potatoes. Over time, these choices will become your new biological baseline. I want to thank you for investing these 30 minutes in your health. It is the most valuable investment you will ever make. If this information has shifted your perspective, I ask you to do two things. First, share this video. 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will face a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime, and this information could literally be the difference between a life cut short and a life lived to its fullest potential. Second, make sure you are subscribed and your notifications are on. In my next video, we are going to flip the script and expose the 5 most pro-cancer foods that are hiding in plain sight, the ones that are actively pouring gasoline on those microscopic fires. You do not want to miss that. Remember, your body wants to heal, it wants to survive, and it wants to thrive. You just have to give it the right tools to do so. I'm Dr. Mike, and I'll see you in the next one. Out.